You have just died to Gremlin Knob, one of the first enemies you may fight in Slay the Spire. You lost because of greed and being unprepared, or this time it really was just bad luck. You get back up and try again, because somehow, in this game, they made losing feel like progress. When I first played this game, I thought to myself, this is incredible. However, it's so good it might just ruin my life. Somehow, when they forged this game, they managed to make it so every run feels wholly unique and engaging, giving you a personalized puzzle to solve. Turns are a tug of war between blocking incoming damage and choosing the right moment to swing the encounter back in your favor. When you're finally cruising to victory, you feel like a genius for piloting your scrapped together deck of cards. Whilst on the surface this is an engaging single-player experience, the depth of the gameplay runs deepest in its long-term deck building. Constructing a deck in Slay the Spire is a stew pot of ingredients. You want to add in some nice meaty chunks of damage, some vegetable card draw, some nice brothy blocks. But if you keep adding too many ingredients, eventually you'll find yourself picking through the bowl for parts you actually want to eat. Does that make sense? If you add too many cards that don't fit into a cohesive archetype, you'll be wasting turns as your enemy exponentially grows stronger. When you first start playing Slay the Spire, you'll find yourself saying, why would I ever want to remove a card? There's nothing wrong with my strikes. Then eventually, you'll be spending your entire gold supply removing this bloat. This brings us to the merchant. I fucking love this guy. He removes the cards for you. In the right hands, you can use the merchant as a tinkerer to fine-tune the performance of your deck with rare cards and relics. He makes jokes, has a small rat friend who works for him. It's small connections like this that build up the story of Slay the Spire. And I use that word lightly. The only concrete lore we get is that there is a six-eyed whale called Niao who resurrects us after each loss. How old are our heroes? What brought them here? There is a motif of forbidden treasure and esoteric magic that's hidden away within the Spire. But what is a Spire anyway? The lore on the game is light enough to make it our own interpretation, but the theming of the game brings in many fantasy staples like bandits, knights, and wizards. This framing of fantasy extends to the player characters, who each have radically different archetypes. These combos are entirely drafted by chance. More likely than not, you will never receive what you're searching for. The key to evaluating a card is, it depends. Will this see me through to the end of the act? Will it just be what I need to survive until the next bonfire? Eventually, after much trial and error, you'll grasp what cards are good. And whilst there are some stinkers, the cards are generally extremely well balanced. As someone who grew up playing digital versions of TCGs, I love getting to exercise my deck building skills. Slay the Spire's soundtrack doesn't quite get my head bobbing like they used to, but it does make me feel like I'm getting ready for war. They aren't rooting for the heroes, they're championing the villains. These well-designed enemies are a huge part of the charm. They make quips at you and wail as they die. I'd rate my enjoyment of the bosses being roughly in this order. If you know you know, some can be total run-enders, but most are a fair challenge of preparedness. However, beyond this gang of deadly foes, a monster reigns over all of them. As you're beginning to ascend the Spire, discovering mysterious keys and praying for the perfect cards, you will encounter the final boss, the Heart. The Heart is in a league of its own. It demands planning, there's no room for error. You'll be making choices in the short term that make the game more grueling, only so you can use them in the very final fight of the whole game. To achieve a victory over the heart, you're going to have to get there time and time again so you can begin to learn its weaknesses, if it even has any. It is just a nuclear bomb of an enemy which will kill you indiscriminately on turn 3 unless you have 50 block. Even before you get there, you're confronted with 2 notable mini-bosses, and these guys have taken just as many lives as the heart itself. They are the gatekeepers to the power level that is Act 4. If you can make every right choice with your relics, shopping and strategy, you'll be rewarded with a cathartic cutscene that shows your character finally escaping the Spire. You will unlock new advanced cards and new characters, but something particular called Ascension. Ascension, in my opinion, is what has given Slay the Spire the sheer longevity and renown that it has. It acts as a difficulty modifier to tip the game back in the favour of the Spire. Completing the game for the first time is an accomplishment. Failing to complete the game on Ascension 20 is humbling. Suddenly your basic game plan is thrown out the window, enemies are going to kill you faster, and you'll be saying, where are my potion slots? Here, you have to push everything you learn to the limit and gain mastery of the systems in play. And it's not just asking you to win, it's asking you to creatively problem solve and build something broken to push it through the limits. I'm not sure if forcing your players at gunpoint to memorize your game is good game design, but it's so extremely rewarding. It's only a matter of time before you make one mistake and fall right back down to floor 1 fighting jar worms. Unfortunately, this is where certain strategies become no longer viable, as you trade experimentation for efficiency. Cards suddenly feel slow. Spending your entire turn to buff yourself might not be worth it. You'll find putting select cards in the I will never pick you again in my life category. One class in particular stands out as the strongest, and that is the Watcher. The Watcher, simply put, is busted. Whilst they have a vast selection of archetypes within their decks, one strategy stands out, and that's going infinite. You can change your stance for mana and card draw, cut out absolutely everything that doesn't fit into this box. Everyone agrees the Watcher is way too strong. She stands out as this peculiar case of being unbalanced, and she is just built different. Literally. She wasn't around during the early community-focused playtesting and didn't receive the same level of scrutiny. You can't cook this up in an investors meeting. Slay the Spire completely deserves the title of one of the greatest games of all time. The devs went through months of balance and reassessments and is paralleled in your journey to mastery in Ascension 20. When I finally beat Ascension 20 with all 4 characters, it took me so long, I jumped out of my chair. It's here I have to ask myself, now that I've committed hundreds of hours of my life to finishing the game, now what do I do? Download hundreds of mods, of course. I swear we must all be trapped in the Spire together, because some insane mods have been released which have multiplied my enjoyment of this game. You've got the staple character mods and stability patches, but even something simple like being able to plot your route on the map is game changing. An absolutely insane mod that I tried recently adds side quests to the game. You put in a small stake of gold to accomplish tasks as you go through the Spire. It was all pretty tame until I had a side quest that started a side game of Balatro during my Slay the Spire run, which caused me to mute the soundtrack and just... It was at this moment that I realised we'd finally come full circle on this game's cultural impact. It's hard to say if Balatro and roguelikes would have the same success they've achieved to this day without Slay the Spire. It's seeping its influence into every franchise. Just the act of playing cards has become synonymous with the genre. These cards don't actually exist. They're an anachronism of a physical card game, but can be peeked into to visualize the odds of drawing the tools you need to solve a situation. Wait, they actually do exist. Yeah, there is a Slay the Spire board game, and I'm not joking when I say after all this praise I've given the game, the board game is just as good, if not better. Story time. Last year I went through a bad breakup, and at my worst I didn't want to go out and socialise with anyone. I got a kind message from a friend saying they have the board game and I should come over for a run. After I sat down to play at 6 PM, I didn't go home until 3 in the morning. Essentially, you play individual games of Slay the Spire, drafting cards and earning relics, but at any point you can reach over to your friend's game and say, "Oh, hey buddy, is that bandit giving you trouble? Let me just take care of him real quick." This gaming session made me so happy to shuffle through these cards that I'd spent fawning over digitally for hundreds of hours. It proved to me that Slay the Spire is special and that it can bring people together. What I also learned is that this board game is worth playing by yourself. It might sound weird playing a board game solo, but setting up the table with physical cards is a tactile, fun experience. If you're interested, you can try out the board game on Tabletop Simulator, or you can mod the video game to have the rules of the board game in a video game. I've never seen anything like this before, and only shows the sheer passion of the community eager for more content, which nervously brings me to talking about the upcoming sequel, Slay the Spire 2. By the time you can hear this video, Slay the Spire 2 should be in early access. To say I'm excited is an understatement, but again, I feel the same dread I felt all those years ago. This could ruin my life. I'm not sure if I have another 700 hours spare. No one's forcing me to dive into this rabbit hole, but in my heart, I know it'll be completely euphoric. New characters, new art style, I fully trust them to deliver a fresh, mature experience. But as far as I'm concerned, they already created a perfect game. Whatever they deliver now is a bonus. I can't wait to see other people finally playing together in co-op. How that co-op experience went for me in the board game proved to me that this series still has so much room to grow. Perhaps not in a vertical direction. This video was inspired by myself making a list of my favourite games that shaped my life. If you want to see me cover more of these games, subscribe, let me know which ones take your interest. As I continue to develop editing videos, I will love to get to cover Slay the Spire 2. For now, in this time I want to shout out some roguelikes that I enjoyed that made this wait endurable. Deck Tamer, recently launched on Steam Early Access, blends together the best aspects of Nuzlocke and Slay the Spire. It is cutthroat, it is very demanding of you, it has beautiful artwork, but honestly, they are cooking something good and it needs more attention. And I recently got to play Mugenics, which has entered my top 20 at least of all time. It's a beautiful game and I made a video on it a few weeks ago. Check it out. Thank you.